Third canto or
25.
17th canto. I think we're on the 17th canto. Chapter 1. Case 25.
No, chapter 25.
Oh, chapter 25.
Verse 9.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Chapter 25. Oh, so this one?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what was that?
No, we did. Yeah.
Which case 26. Oh. Yeah, you'll bug on this house. Oh no, flyer.
No.
Am I gonna be like
You're gonna be the star.
Brahma trying
Just give it right
I'm
on
a
the
true
camera.
mascot, he says.
Come on.
Oh my god. They're gonna be like those brahmacharis.
This is going on the internet.
Oh
My god, it's a movie.
my god.
On the stage.
You need to get one of Davis.
Oh yeah.
His guy was perfect right
Yeah, video. Slow-mo.
I totally messed it up.
Okay, David, you're on. Oh yeah.
Boom.
You got it, yeah.
Got him. We got him on file.
Send it to all your friends in the door.
Oh yeah. Yeah, say hard bowl. Now I'm a pirate guy.
When I told Sabasa I was staying here longer, he's like, oh yeah, that's fine, just don't get any ideas.
Go good. Go with the plan.
Well, we follow this.
Wait, it's Thursday.
The exact same bus.
So they didn't tell me anything. Oh, they didn't tell me.
I remember the other day he was
I won't
talking
be here, that's Friday. Oh, totally forgot. All right.
Baki's out.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Go this way. I'm sorry, I messed up, guys. Oh, what about the mic? Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari.
and Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad Divine Grace Shri C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Okay. Damana, shut the front door, okay? Thank you, Prabhu. And you open it just a little bit.
That one.
That one too. Narayana Namaskritya
Narayana Namaskritya.
Narang Chaiva Narottamam
Narangchaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devam Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiriye.
Tato Jayamudiriye.
Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Sorry, Zach. Just a foot open, because it gets too noisy. Nashtapayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavaduttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. What does that mean? Yeah, it can't be stopped. You can't revoke it. In other words, you're stuck. Got to be devoted to Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this third day of August 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the third canto, the status quo, 25th chapter, the glories of devotional service, text number 9. Ya'adyo Bhagavan Pungsam
Ya'adyo Bhagavan Pungsam
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
Lokasya Tamasandhasya
Lokasya Tamasandasya
Chakshusurya Hivoditaha
Chakshusurya Vivoditaha
Ya'adyo Bhagavan Pungsam
Ya'adyo Bhagavan Pungsam
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
Lokasya Tamasandhasya
Lokasya Tamasandasya
Chakshusurya Hivoditaha
Chakshusurya Vivoditaha
Ya'adyo Bhagavan Pungsam
Ya'adyo Bhagavan
Ishvaro vai bhavan kila
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
lokasya tamasandasya
Lokasya Tamasandasya
chakshusu yahivoditaha.
Chakshusu Yaivoditaha.
Please chant. Ya'adjo bhagavan pungsam Ishvaro vai bhavan kila lokasya tamasandhasya chakshusu yahivoditaha. Yaha,
Yaha
he who, adyaha,
Adyaha
the origin,
the origin.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Pungsam,
Sam
of all living entities,
all living entities.
Ishvaraha,
Ishvaraha
the Lord,
the Lord.
Vai,
Vai
in fact,
fact.
Bhavan,
Bhavan
you,
you.
Kila,
Kila
indeed,
the
Lokasya,
Lokasya
of the universe,
the universe.
Tamasa,
Tamasa
by the darkness of ignorance,
by the darkness of ignorance.
Andhasya,
Antasya
blinded,
blinded.
Chakshuhu,
Chakshuhu
eye,
eye.
Suryaha,
Suryaha
the sun,
the sun.
Eva,
Eva
like,
like.
Uditaha,
Uditaha
risen.
risen.
Translation, Devahuti says to her son, Lord Kapila Dev, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe. Purport. Kapila Muni is accepted as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Here the word Adyaha means the origin of all living entities, and Pungsam Ishvara means the Lord, or Ishvara, of the living entities. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Kapila Muni is the direct expansion of Krishna, who is the sun of spiritual knowledge. As the sun dissipates the darkness of the universe, so when the light of the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down, it at once dissipates the darkness of Maya. We have our eyes, but without the light of the sun, our eyes are of no value. Similarly, without the light of the Supreme Lord, or without the divine grace of the spiritual master, one cannot see things as they are. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Salakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, in this material world, we are born into darkness, and we stay in darkness, even though we may come to the human form of life, but without the sun-like spiritual knowledge that's dissipated or that's promulgated by Krishna himself, his representatives, and the scripture in which his words are recorded, we're helpless. It's just like we're groping around in the darkness, and we have no idea who we are, what the goal of life is, how to get out of this darkness. We're just helpless. So that's the nature of the material world. It's by nature dark, and therefore we need the sun, we need electricity, we need fire. Otherwise we can't see anything. As you may know, these universes are all covered by thick layers of matter, 10 times bigger, each one 10 times bigger than the one before. This little universe, we have a small universe actually, it's said to be only 4 billion miles wide on the inside. And there's a covering of Earth, which is 40 billion miles wide, water, which is 400 billion miles, and on like that. So you can imagine, we have a very little tiny, relatively speaking, space inside. So it's completely dark, so therefore we have the sun and fire and electricity. But that's still material. Without the sun of the knowledge of Krishna, and Krishna's dissipation of that knowledge, we still basically remain in darkness and we're helpless. So this analogy is often used, the famous motto of the Back to Godhead. Back to Godhead used to be much more integral to the Hare Krishna movement. In fact, Prabhupada's publication started with Back to Godhead in India, in English. And the motto was, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andakar, Yahan Krishna Nahitai Mara Adhikar. That wherever there is Godhead, there is light. Wherever there is ignorance, there is nescience. So Godhead is light, ignorance is nescience. Wherever is Godhead, there cannot be ignorance and nescience. So everything Prabhupada did was meant to propagate this knowledge and this light and to wake people up to the reality. So also the Bhagavatam itself is said to be just like the sun. Krishne Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Dibi Saha Kalo Nashta Disham Esha Puranako Dunoditaha. So Kalo Nashta Disham, in this age of Kali, people's vision has been destroyed. Nashta Disham, you can't see, we're in darkness. And when Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he brought with him personified. He was personified Dharma and Jnana, religion and knowledge. And so the mission was twofold, basically. One was to reenact those wonderful, all-attractive pastimes in Vrindavan, to renew the memory. He hadn't been to Earth since like 8,400,000,000 years ago. Once in a day of Brahma. Day of Brahma means a daytime and a nighttime. Daytime is 4,320,000,000 years. Doubled it, and that was the last time Krishna had been to Earth. So you can imagine how people forgot everything. So he comes in order to anugrahaya bhaktanam manasam dehamastataha bhajate tadrishi krida yashtrata tatparo bhavet. Anugrahaya, out of his compassion for his devotees, he comes down to earth in his original human-like form and enacts those leela which, when one hears them, one becomes attracted to serve him. This is one of the reasons he comes. As well as famously in the Bhagavad Gita, to eradicate the miscreants, help protect the devotees and reinstitute Dharma. So all of that is just like the sun, it's described. And so this verse, Krishna Swadhamo Bhagavate, when Krishna finally left this planet, went back to his own planet, taking with him Dharma and Jnana, since he was personified. This Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, has arisen just like the sun to provide light for the benighted residents of the Kali Yuga. So Bhagavatam is our light to give us a way out of the darkness. But we have to be receptive to it. We have to open our eyes to it. Prabhupada gives the analogy of the owl, who as soon as the sun comes out, he closes his eyes. Right? He only sees at night. The owl famously likes to be awake at night. So we shouldn't be owls. We should accept the blessing of this light and take advantage of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Devahuti is saying the same thing, that Kapila Deva has come, and all the avatars really come in order to do these things, to reinstitute Dharma, annihilate the miscreants. Whether it's Varaha or Nrsingadev, Krishna himself, they have that basic mission of helping the devotees, propagating knowledge, spreading the light of transcendental knowledge, and eradicating the miscreants. So, Kapila Deva is specifically mentioned here. Adya, origin of all living entities. What is it? Vishwak Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, and Adir Govinda, Sarvakaran. Very important verse. Krishna is the origin of everything, but he has no origin himself. Alright, any questions on this verse? We can read another one. One more from Devahuti. Atame deva sammoham apakrishtam tamarhasi yo vagrahoham mameti yetasmin yotitastvaya. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and of claiming things possessed in relationship with the body is called Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me come everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahuti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord. But that is not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya. And since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget him and enjoy this material world, he gives him full facility, not directly, but through the agency of his material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget him. Devahuti therefore said, "My engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement." By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world, but when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and when one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. Krishna says therefore in the Bhagavad Gita, "First of all surrender, and then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities." Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment which are considered to be pious are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment, and we think, "I am this body. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine." Devahuti requested Lord Kapila to free her from entanglement of false identification and false possession. So this is a very profound purport statement here from Devahuti. So in one sense, now this can be a pitfall. Is this idea that, well, Krishna is all powerful. Why is he letting me be in Maya? Why doesn't he, rid me of this anartha, this sinful desire? Isn't he merciful? So it's like a prisoner. He wakes up in his prison cell. He forgot why he got there. Maybe he got hit on the head or something. Why are they being so cruel to me? Why don't they let me out of this cage? We forget. This is like the Paridbha Sutra of material life. You forget. You forget. You forget how you got here. You forget who you really are. You forget that the endeavor for sense gratification is a trap that keeps you in this material world and just produces suffering. This is Maya's great trick. And it's also Krishna's test. After all, Maya is Krishna's servant. So the test is whether we can strengthen our intelligence by the knowledge of the Shastra and by hearing from authorized sources, so that by will we can redirect the senses which are spontaneously attracted to sense gratification and begin serving Krishna. This is the test. Now what Prabhupada doesn't mention here, because he talks about how Krishna says one has to surrender, and then I'll save you, that Lord Chaitanya is actually more merciful. He said, "Oh, don't surrender. Just chant Hare Krishna." Now that's a form of surrender, but it's in the name of singing and dancing and enjoying oneself, right? But that focus of the mind, even imperfectly, and nobody is completely focused on chanting Hare Krishna when they first start chanting, and even after many years it's difficult. But it's enough of an impact. The holy name enters through the ears, and the transformation takes place. And what happens there is that because Krishna is personally present in the holy name, that whatever contact there is with the consciousness through the glass darkly, so to speak, of the material mind, still there's a little bit of awakening there, of attraction to Krishna. And then, and for someone who takes the process seriously and understands, then comes the whole process of sadhana bhakti, right? Adau Shraddhata Sadhu Sangha the Bhajana Kriya Nata Narta Nivrasisa. The process begins with a little faith, association, you're doing bhajan, chanting Hare Krishna, and then there's the process of anartha nivritti. And how fast that happens depends on our sincerity and our determination to kick out all of the impediments and all of the things that are slowing us down. But at least we know the choice. We understand, oh yeah, there's Krishna, and I can remember. Now if you get too offensive and too covered over, you can forget that also. Or think it was just a phase you went through when you were 25 years old. Now I'm much more mature, I'm 30, you know, I've got a family and everything, now I'm in real life. No, you're in real Maya, covering over your idea, understanding of what reality is. But that battle that takes place within the heart of every aspiring bhakta, between the old attractions and the natural, you know, built-in attractions of the senses for the sense objects, and our budding attraction for Krishna, which really negates that attraction. The more you can become attracted to Krishna and to service to Krishna and everything having to do with bhakti, the less you'll feel the pull of Maya. In fact, I think in Kapila Dev's teachings, one of the first things that he mentions there is that Maya kind of dissolves the false ego. I think we're going to read that in the beginning, in the teachings. In other words, and then as you get more advanced, Maya doesn't act on you as powerfully. We're going to read these in the translations. And every devotee can feel that. So, Krishna's in our heart. He's responding to what we want. From him come knowledge and also forgetfulness. Right? What is it? Remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So if we want to remember Krishna, we want to know Krishna, then he'll guide us in such a way that we come in touch with devotees. That we open that book that we got in the airport somewhere. In other words, there's facility. The great acharyas give us, by their great efforts, like Srila Prabhupada, give us the facility to actually make the choice. Until Prabhupada came, it was like the whole United States was like a condemned area. Who knew about Krishna? You know, so many other things were being known, and you know, all of this other stuff is going on. But it was all ultimately futile. We really have to have that conviction that everything but our search for the absolute truth and everything having to do with bhakti is ultimately futile and meaningless. It's totally meaningless. It seems to have meaning, but you can just project yourself back, 50 years, say. So many things were going on. See, what was going on 50 years ago? This is that's like 67, right? So the war in Vietnam. I mean, I was obsessed with that. I would, wake up in the morning, see the newspaper, what's going on, when's the next demonstration, and so many other things happening at the same time. But ultimately, all of that is just bubbles in the ocean. I mean, we can see it for what it is, as a manifestation of the extreme manifestation of mode of ignorance and passion and all of this stuff. But it ultimately doesn't come to anything, any more than the battles that took place, 1,000 years ago. In the Middle Ages really means anything to us. What does it mean to us now? It happened. It's history. But what we can learn from it is that, yes, the universe is going around, Not really much. But for our own lives, what really counts is not to get absorbed in all of this stuff that ultimately just bubbles in the ocean, but really in the absolute truth. Adato Brahma Jigyasa is that human life is meant for this inquiry at all times and all places into the absolute truth. In other words, be mindful of of the activities that we're doing. What's the meaning of it? I like this verse from the 11th canto, the 9 Yogendras, or the first Yogendra. I always forget the names. Is answering Maharaj Nimi's question: what is the ultimate good? How to achieve it? And he comes after 3 verses. He said, "Well, here's the formula. Here's how you should act. Kayena vacha manasindriyava buddhyatmanava nusata bhavat karoti yadyat sakalam parasmait narayanayeti samarpayeta." Whatever you do with your body, your senses, your mind, your intelligence, your words, he covers everything. One should understand, this is an offering to Narayan. This is an offering to Krishna. Now it's almost like Yat Karoshi, but this is more advanced. It's actually, you have to be in that consciousness that I'm doing everything, every little thing that I'm doing is part of the whole structure of my devotional service. Now, how could you forget Krishna in a state like that? So that's exactly opposite to the false ego, which you forget completely Krishna, and everything I'm doing is for the benefit of this body and my position and this and that and whatever. You see? So to overcome that false ego, that false sense of self, we have to identify as devotees. We have to identify as, yes, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. That's the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, practically the first teaching to Sanatan. Who am I? Sanatana Goswami asks. And the answer is, Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. But he continues, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Beda Be Prakash. The whole answer is important. So the first thing, we're eternal servants of Krishna. And we're Krishna's marginal energy, Tatastha Shakti, simultaneously one with and different from him. Now, that if we understand that, then we have to act in a different way than we've been acting. If we're Krishna's servants, then we have to find out, well, what does Krishna want me to do? And we have abundant instruction, right? From the pure devotees is giving us the instruction from the Shastra. Krishna is very plain. Think of me, become my devotee. Now, become my devotee, we've been blessed with Rupa Goswami's nice instruction, so many different elements of devotion. Do this, don't do that, watch out for these 6 things, that'll stop your bhakti, right? You know, there's something to do at every moment. There's a way of doing everything Krishna conscious. Waking up, eating, cleaning oneself, everything. There's a Krishna conscious way. So if we understand that, then we transform our lives. I'm a servant of Krishna. But that goes directly opposite what we've been cultivating for millions of years, so it doesn't happen automatically. And we need training, we need association. That's what the ashram is for. That's what sadhu sangha is for. We keep reminding ourselves. Prabhu, I didn't see you in Mangalarti. You were there, but I mean, just as an example. What happened? Oh yeah, I overslept. I ate too much last night. I won't do it again. Otherwise, if you're out there on your own, it's very difficult. So Prabhu works so hard to make these ashrams, temples, mats, temple with an attached ashram. So, false identity of the body, and then along with the false identification comes the sense of possessiveness. You think you own things, but actually those things own you. Those who get into paying a mortgage off for a house, how difficult it is. Oh, it's my house. No, it's the bank's house. And you'll be kicked out unless you pay. And then come the taxes. And then comes your maintenance. You get the plumbing is up. You got to take care. So all of these things, they drag you in, right? I mean, the classic example, Atta Pungsa Striyamritini Bhava Metayamato Vidya Grantamahu Atta Grihat Sheta Sutapta Vittar Janasya Moho Yamahamameti. It's exactly what he's talking about here. It all begins with the sex life. Got to have it. Well, okay, if you're part of a civilized human being, then it would take place in marriage. Okay, but as soon as there's marriage, then you got to have a place, you got to have a job or a chaitra, a field, a farm or something, right? Maintain. And then comes the kids. There's a whole new set of responsibilities. Work harder at the chaitra, And then the relatives, there's all that responsibility, and all of it requires so much money, and it all generates janasya moho yamahamameti, the illusion of this me and mine. Yeah, it's very nice that I'm a spirit soul, but I'm with the wife and kids and hope. So that's it. It's a big expansion of the sense of me and mine. And then when you get more powerful than that, you become a big kshatriya. You own so many things. You're a politician, whatever. You can see how entangling it is. So Devahuti is representing us. And she said, please dispel this false ego. You are my transcendental eye. Remember that? That was the previous verse. In other words, you are providing me the vision to see what is actually what after all these millions of births. With the curtain hung down. We were discussing, Kunti's second verse. Maya jamandikachannam magyaroksha jamabhyam nanakshase mudha drisha latonaya tiroyata. Mudha drisha means foolish vision. Here she's asking for transcendental vision. But we pull that curtain ourselves by our desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. Turning away, forgetting Krishna. Then what do? We embrace Maya. and the curtain comes down. And we forget that there's the curtain. We think that's reality. So the great acharyas, they come in order to, it's this verse we chant every morning, Om Jnanativarandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya. So born in the darkness of ignorance, really blind, andasya. Very coated. So the spiritual master is opening the eyes with an instrument, prying them open and applying this collyrium of knowledge. That's what the verse is about. In other words, sometimes it takes, the strong words. We have to be prepared for that. Again in the 11th canto, Krishna himself in the Uddhava Gita, after the Ila Gita, it's worth reading the Ila Gita. I think we'll go through it next time I get class when I come back. The Ila Gita is Pururava's, another name was Ila, his song of enunciation. There's several songs of enunciation. Famously, Pingala, the prostitute, has one. But this one is even better because he got totally obsessed with Urvashi. You can imagine, we in our little pre-devotional lives, you get obsessed with some young girl or something like that. But compared to they're frogs compared to the heavenly planets. And Urvashi was the most beautiful girl on heavenly planets. He had no chance. She was sent down specifically to seduce him. And he got seduced. Anyway, it's a long story. Then she left him all of a sudden. And he was heartbroken. All he could think about was her. Anyway, it went on like that. And eventually he comes to his senses. And this Ila Gita is that. And so after his song of enunciation, Krishna is relating this. He's quoting Ila to Uddhava in the Uddhava Gita. Then Krishna has some really important verses. I think it's the 12th chapter. I can look it up in the 11th canto. And one of it is the importance of the spiritual master and what the spiritual master can do for us. So first he says, Tato duk sangam utsraja. The first thing is we have to be ready to give up bad association. That's why these ashrams are such a blessing. Where are you going to find good association? Well, you can find it, on the internet and everything. But really, you can just with one hit of the button, you have bad association. At least here, this not so easy. Anyway, that's the world we live in. But the point is that Tato duk sangam utsraja. Give up bad association. At satsu sajjeta buddhiman. Be intelligent and associate only with devotees. Satsu, like saints. Why? Santa eva sachindanti monovyasangamuktibi. Because the great saints, pure devotees especially, with their words, they act just like the knife to cut off or remove these powerful desires in the mind. I remember once hearing, it was painful to hear once. It was just a little excerpt of an interaction that Gaur Govinda Maharaj had with one of his disciples. And the disciple must have told him something that, he fell down or whatever. And Gaur Govinda was going at him, and it was in public, and just blasting him. And he was taking it, I heard the audio, I didn't see it, but it was in an open forum. And, be read from the Shastra and everything like that. And that's actually a great blessing. Prabhupada would do that sometimes also, especially Satsu Maharaj. He knew that he could take it. He was so surrendered. And he would get on his case, like that. And so that's what this verse is about. It's that by the strong words, the sadhus will destroy the powerful desires in the mind. Mano vyasangam. Vyasangam is very, very powerful, deep-rooted desires in the heart. How do you get them out? Of course, chanting Hare Krishna. But this is another helpful way. Is like those strong words. So that's we need to do that. That's what Kapila Deva is going to do. He's got some really strong words here. Wait till he gets to the part description of hell is in there also a little bit, a description of the dangers of associating with women. He's speaking to his mother, but he's speaking to everybody, obviously. One of the verses goes, Natatasya bhavein moho bandhaschanya pasangata yoshit sangachita pungso tata satsanga sangita. There's nothing that produces as much bondage, natatasya bhavein moho, as much illusion, and bondage and illusion, natatasya bhavein moho bandhaschanya pasangata, as association with women for enjoyment, or with those who are a strong associate. That's always thrown in there. And then he repeats that verse word by word in the 11th canto as Krishna in the Uddhava Gita. He says the same thing, but instead of bandha, he says klesha. There's nothing that produces as much misery and as much bondage as association with. So any verse that's repeated like that, is important. And there's several verses like that in Kapila Dev's teachings. So he's giving plenty of hot chutney, but he's also giving these sweet descriptions of the soul, the Lord in the heart. It's meditative yoga he's describing, but it's meditation on ultimately the pastimes, and ultimately the meditating yogi should meditate on the laughter of the Lord. That's not ordinary, Ashtanga yoga. And ultimately it all comes down to bhakti. So we're launching in a very nectarian part of the Bhagavatam. And I remember our old long-lost friend, I won't mention his name since this is being recorded, but he really loved this. He would always share things of the teachings of Kapila Dev. You'll see, very attractive. So any questions or comments? Sorry, it was a little spontaneous class. I forgot I was supposed to do that. I'm getting too many things. Okay, all glories to the Prabhupada. See you on Rath Yatra. Where's our young friends? Are they sleeping in the bus?
I saw them come out. I think they might be bathing.
Okay, good.
No. Upstairs, I think in the shower.
Oh, really?
I saw them walk by. I thought
They're going up the
they must. Because I was on the phone and they walked by me. But did not
kids.
I only saw two.
Because it's like a whole
I think it was like the leaders. Because one of them is like it's from the Maya.
30.
But are they the young kids or the older kids?
Well, I'm not sure.
How old are they?
They were older. I've seen one of them on like kirtans. One of them is from my book.
So these are the older
Yeah.
leaders.
Yeah, these were the old leaders.
Cleaning up. So they didn't wake up.
Yeah. I had a question on a reference.
Okay, good.
There's this. I think it's in the. I want to say it's the beginning of the third canto, where Srila Prabhupada talks about like the Vedic knowledge. Now, just as a mother makes food palatable to the embryo when she's pregnant, the acharyas do the same.
I don't remember.
That's in the third.
I think it's in the beginning of the third canto. So I remember reading it, but I don't think I wrote it down. I want to go back.
Do you have access to the database?
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I don't know.
It's okay.
But you sure he said it? He always uses every other name.
Yeah, he talks about how the mother, just as a pregnant mother, makes food palatable to the embryo. Similarly, the acharyas make.
Sounds like you got plenty to look it up. Yeah, just pick up palatable, mother, every other.
Yeah.
But it's a great thought.
I hope you have a really safe trip.
Me too. I feel like I'm going to the line today.
All hanging out today and then tonight. Yeah, interesting.
Long night.
Interesting conversation. The hardest part will be the peanut gallery.
David, to Domino 8. Congratulations. Oh, it's not the same font?
Font size. So they're.
Forget about that. I was talking about the letter.
Oh, really?
Well, also, yeah. I mean, if you want to get, that line last night going up. What happened?
Yeah. That one's really difficult. It's not that far.
Anyway. I like the way you do the A's. Yeah. You know what a serif is? not one of these.
What is this?
This is sans serif, right? There's no little tails. I'll show you.